Hey, welcome back to the Big Red Zone. We are very excited for today's show. Remember, new episodes come out every Wednesday. You can find us on Spotify, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find us on Instagram and Twitter at Big Red Zone. You can also find us on TikTok at Big Red Zone. And tell a friend. This week, a lot of NFL. Week 2, Patriots get their first win. So we'll break down that game as well as a couple other games. And we'll also talk about the Red Sox. Big week for the Sox, keeping alive in the wild card hunt. We'll break down this week and look a little bit into the playoff run. All that and more on this week's episode of the Big Red Zone. Welcome to the podcast. This is the Big Red Zone. I'm your host, Big Red. As always, I am joined by Danny Football.
What's going on, Big Red?
Nothing much, man. Big week in the NFL. Awesome games. Also, big week for the Red Sox. But before we get into that, we were kind of talking about this before. Big night for some guy or gal with a nice little parlay bet in Vegas.
God.
They put $25 down on this prayer of a parlay, and they're one game away. All they need is the Detroit Lions to upset the Green Bay Packers, and this man or woman will walk away with $750,000 on a $25 bet.
So they
Unbelievable.
They accurately picked the Washington football team, Bears, Browns, Rams, Bills, Patriots, 49ers, Raiders, Panthers, Broncos, Cardinals, Buccaneers, Cowboys, Titans, and Ravens. All money line, all hit. They're just waiting on Lions plus 400.
Unbelievable. I'm sure that person is nervous right now.
16-leg parlay to trying to win $725,000.
$725 on a $25 bet.
Insane.
Well, I wish that person luck.
Trying to turn a dinner into life-changing money.
It's life-changing money. So don't mess this up, Lions.
That's a lot of pressure for Jared Goff tonight.
Well, I need Aaron Jones to miss the bus to the game tonight for fantasy football.
After last week, he just might.
And Aaron Rodgers, I need him to just not care about this game like last week. And I need a huge day, probably a career day out of DeAndre Swift to beat our good friend Rob in the RBS League. I need 30 points out of Mr. DeAndre Swift. So anything could happen. If we learned anything from this
any given Sunday,
this 16 parlay thing, I don't know. Anything's possible. So we're gonna break into the first game. So we'll let's dive into weekend recap. It's the weekend recap. So for weekend recap, we picked 3 games of the week. One, usually the Patriots. For the first week, we're going to go with actually Sunday night football. Ravens versus Chiefs. This may be the best game I've seen in a long time. I know we said that about the Bucks Cowboys game last week. This one, I want to say, is even better. I have to say this one's even better. It was just a showdown between two of the young shining star quarterbacks in the league, Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes. And, man, it was just an absolute clinic by those two guys. What was the general reaction for you, Danny Football, watching this game?
This was like watching two teams on Madden. You throw it on Legendary, you just let it play out, a simulated game. You had Mahomes throwing it from his knees. You had Lamar Jackson jump passing. You had, Travis Kelce getting a 40-yard touchdown, breaking tackles left and right. This was just a video game, man. There was no defense being played. It was a shootout. You had Lamar Jackson icing the game on a 4th and 1 when his coach is asking him if he wants to go for it. So this is really everything you love about football. Unless you're a defensive guy, this was not for you.
Very entertaining to watch. It was, like you said, it was all offense, no defense. And I love that last play call. Everyone was saying, man, do you kick it here? Do you try to ice it? And Lamar Jackson, with ice in his veins, says, give me the ball and get out of the way. Or get in the way so I could get a first down.
Get in the way.
Get in the way so I can get a first down here. I couldn't believe it. The one thing that I do question a little bit, and I'd hate to question, you don't want to question Bieniemy and Andy Reid because their play calling has been phenomenal the last few years. But how do you not put the ball in Patrick Mahomes' hands with a minute and a half left? I get that what's his name? Clyde is a great running back,
Mm-hmm.
but you got a MVP candidate, perennial MVP candidate in Patrick Mahomes. I don't understand how that you don't give him the ball there. Every play should be in his hands. And that ended up costing them because Clyde fumbled the ball and there goes the game down the tube. So that was one question mark. Kind of, I kind of wish it went down to, Patrick Mahomes making that last play and not a Clyde Edwards-Helaire fumble.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to be a theme through these first 2 weeks is some coaches are just trying to kind of outsmart the room. A lot of questionable decisions, going with different personnel than they should. Taking the ball out of your former MVP, your Super Bowl MVP, your Super Bowl winning franchise quarterback, taking the ball out of his hands. And then on the other sideline, you have the coach asking the quarterback what he wants to do, putting the game directly in his hands. So definitely a wild move by the Chiefs coaching staff. I don't know what was kind of the thought process there, whether they just have that much belief in Clyde's Edwards-Helaire to ice the game, but at the same time, you have Patrick Mahomes. You think you trust him enough to kind of take care of the situation from there, but it's a tale of trust. The Chiefs didn't want to put it in Mahomes' hands. They lost, and the Ravens put it all in Lamar Jackson's hands, and he won the game. So am I going to say that's the biggest difference between these two teams? No. If they played 10 times, they might split 5. Who knows? But at least last night, the Ravens were the better team.
And I think, honestly, the Ravens outplayed the Chiefs in a whole. I mean, obviously they did. They won, but look at the points they scored. I mean, you take 7 points off the board off the Chiefs score because that was the pick six. I mean, the defense did show up for that first play and they got you a pick six. I think the offense overall played better than the Chiefs. It was very close, but like you said, when game's on the line, you got to trust your star quarterback, and one team did. And I'm not going to say one team didn't, but one team tried to spread the ball out. I think you're right. Tried to be the smartest guy in the room, and I think overthought that
Yeah.
situation. Like
Yeah.
I, in my eyes, like you said, it's a Madden video game. You're putting it in your star. You're not running the ball there, trying to.
It's like the Falcons Super Bowl. Why are you trying to, why is Matt Ryan trying to be a hero and get strip sacked by Dante Hightower to run the clock?
Right.
It's guys just trying to outsmart the room, trying to, you know, get themselves head coaching jobs when they should just kind of stick with their coordinator role, and it's going to bite you in the ass.
Yeah. Well, obviously these two teams are going to be in it. I mean, the Chiefs. I don't.
No,
This
I'm
doesn't
not
make me
saying
think
this.
anything.
No, this definitely
No,
doesn't
exactly.
end the Chiefs' season. It's it's week 2. They're 1-1. There are plenty of teams in the league that are 1-1, but it does suck that you had the game in hand and you kind of just choked it away. Whereas the Ravens, they were a couple plays away from being 0-2, and all of a sudden they're looking at themselves in the mirror, wondering what the hell are we going to do? Now
Right.
they're looking pretty good at 1-1. They're both the same record. They're both good teams. One just happens to, pull one out on a Sunday night football game.
Right. And both these teams are going to be there in the end. I think this was great for Lamar Jackson.
It definitely showed me a lot about the Ravens because I was expecting them to roll over and die at some point, and they
Yeah.
never did that.
I was honestly ready to start writing off the Ravens because the Ravens didn't show me much. I mean, they always are a good team, but they always burn out and flare out. But this showed like grit. It showed they could, play with the best in the league. Really, the Chiefs are probably the best team in our conference. So, I really love this game, and I think it's two of the teams that could be there in the AFC Championship game. I think that's a real possibility. These two teams could battle it out then. So let's move on to the second game. Cardinals Vikings. This game came down, another game that came down to a point. But a little different end of the game play. Cardinals held on to win, or should we say the Vikings just kicked it away. The Vikings missed a kick at the very end of the game. Far right. They had it. It was right in field goal range. But before we get to that kick, take away the kick of that game at the end of the game. I thought that was another wonderful game played by both teams, offensively wise.
That was another game that, like I said, you just watching a crazy Madden game because you had Kyler Murray running all over the field, escaping sacks, hitting D Hop for touchdowns, hitting D Hop for deep passes. We'll get to more later in the show for waiver pickup of the week, but you had Kyler Murray staying alive the entire game, man. He wasn't letting that team lose. Coming off a rough week one, the kid showed us all what he really can do. And fought, battled. Yeah, it came down to a missed kick, but hey, he got his team the lead, and they hung on. So, Kyler Murray, he's back.
I mean, looking at Kyler stat line, 400 yards.
There you go. That's all you need to know.
3 TDs. The two things that two mistakes I think that were made was the 2 INTs, and they were kind of bad. They overthrow or missed throws, but
it was a rough week for interceptions. We'll get to that in the next game.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, Kyler Murray's legit. He's making a case for why I think you were a year off, Danny Football, potential MVP.
Let's see what happens this year.
Let's see how he does, but don't take anything away from Kirk Cousins either. Kirk Cousins played his butt off too.
That dude balled out
and threw 3 TDs and 244 yards. But this Vikings team, I think, is better than their record shows. They have a really good team. Dalvin Cook balled. He got 131 yards. He was injured for part of that game. He still got 131 yards. I already talked about Kirk Cousins, and throw Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen in there, and KJ Osborne, who is kind of a not talked about player on this team. He had the big long touchdown that kind of added to his yards. He had 91 yards, finished with 91 yards, 5 catches, but he had the long, I think it was 60, 70-yard touchdown bomb. We just talked about it with the Viking, with the last game. The Vikings are a kick away from being 1-1 and feeling good. Now they're 0-2, and it stings because they're going to be right in it, but it still stings that now you're like, oh man, now we got to kind of look at ourselves in the mirror and we got to start stringing together a couple wins.
It definitely stings being 0-2, putting on that kind of offensive performance. Like you said, Kirk Cousins balls out, Dalvin Cook balls out, the wide receiver core between Jefferson and Thielen ball out. You hate putting that kind of output out and still losing based on a kick, but that's the nature of the beast. You either win by a kick or you lose by a kick, and they died by the kick. So are they the worst 0-2 team in the league? No, we're going to get to the worst 0-2 team in the league in a couple of minutes. But if I'm the Vikings, I don't panic. But at the same time, you can't let this continue to slide. The defense has to pick it up. You can't be, giving up easy. I'm not going to say easy, but you had Kyler Murray dead to rights a couple of times. You need to finish those tackles. You need to finish those sacks. You need to, the coverage needs to be better. So if the defense can pick it up, the offense is there. But if they're going to get into shootouts, then the result is either a coin flip, win or loss.
Well, you want some positive news for the Vikings. You want some positive news here?
I guess I'll take some.
Regardless of what happens tonight, their division, they'll only be a game out of first place. The top 2 teams are the Bears, and whoever wins tonight's game, they'll be 1-1. They can string together a win. Everyone else loses next week. They're tied for first place. We got a 4-way tie for.
That's the beauty of only being 2 weeks in.
So I think they're fine. Looking at the rest of the division, the Bears don't scare me. The Lions don't scare me. The Packers don't really scare me because depending on how they bounce back tonight, the Vikings could be the best, if not, right there with the best team in that division. So I think they're okay. But they need to start stringing together some win. Like next week, you got to kind of look at. It's not a must win, but we got to start looking at some. It's like you got to have it. You know what I mean? That's a game that you got to have. So, not a tough loss for them, but I wouldn't. It's not a rule out by any means. I think that team's going to be there right in the very end. So let's get to the top game of the season of the week. Our Patriots versus the Jets. There were some ghosts in New Jersey, my friend. There was some ghosts in New Jersey. Pat's got a big win on the heels of their defense. I think we can both agree that was a major factor in that game. They held the Jets to 6 points, a couple field goals. had 4 picks on Zach Wilson, who, before we start slamming Zach Wilson, I
I'm
think
ready
he's
to slam Zach Wilson.
You ready to slam? All right.
Yeah.
Well, let him have it.
Well, this kid fucking sucks. So he wasn't just seeing ghosts, man. There were straight up demons on the field, man. That third interception, the fourth interception, laughable. Absolutely laughable. Like not even close to a wide receiver. Might as well have just tossed it straight into our hands. I don't know how the hell this kid was picked as high as he was. I'm not ready to completely bury him. Maybe he'll have a half decent career, but this kid was not deserving of a top 5 pick. Not even close. Considering what we've seen out of Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields and Mac Jones, this kid doesn't have it. This kid sucks. Trey Lance, this kid, Zach Wilson sucks.
He definitely is not good. He's definitely a struggle.
Is he any different than Sam Darnold? I feel like Sam Darnold would have been the better pick right now.
Now, here's the argument. Is it the location or is it the quarterback?
It could definitely be the location. I feel like a lot of quarterbacks just go to the Jets to die. So
I feel like a lot of quarterbacks have just gone there and struggled. And, looking at, I didn't see how Sam Darnold did yesterday. Did they do?
I think they won, didn't they? Did they not? I'll check. But regardless, Sam
Darnold comes in, has the Saints who just blew out the.
Yeah, there you go.
305 yards, 2 touchdowns.
By no means am I a Sam Darnold fan. I mean, he's the original. I'm seeing ghosts. But you watched Zach Wilson throw 4 ducks yesterday, and you're wondering how the hell Justin Fields wasn't in any sort of position to be drafted over him. So now the Jets are stuck at 0-2. They're easily the worst 0-2 team. I'd rather be the Jaguars with Trevor Lawrence. This team's handicapped for the rest of the season with this kid.
Now, here's the thing that I would say. I think from what I saw week 1 with Zach Wilson, he led that little bit of a comeback in the end of that game. Second half of that game week 1, he looks great. First week, he looked more of like the whole game this week. Second half of week 1, he looked pretty decent. I think it's 2 things. One, the Jets are just a terrible franchise. I love Robert Saleh, but it's like you're fighting with both hands behind your back. And 2, let's not forget he's missing either his top 2 or at least his best wide receiver still on that team. A team that doesn't have anyone. So
you talking about Jamison Crowder?
Jamison Crowder is a decent wide receiver. It's the best one he has.
Definitely the best one he has.
Who's he playing with? Who is the Jets receivers that even made a play?
Braxton Berrios.
I know we're going to talk about him, but Braxton Berrios is your best receiver. He's a special teamer. On any other team, he's a special teams guy. I just think, and Corey Davis, they took completely out of the game, and Zach Wilson, it showed because he was just forcing it to Corey Davis. Do I think that, am I defending this kid at all? Like, is he good? No. You bring up a really good point. I don't get how Trey Lance wasn't picked over this kid.
I don't know how
Jones.
I don't know. Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying they should cut him by any means. I mean,
they can't. Yeah.
No, I'm not saying that. It's not logical either. But at the same time, there's no way this kid should have been drafted as high as he was. If you're looking at Trevor Lawrence, that's a generational talent. I get that.
Yeah.
But to say Zach Wilson should have been the number 2 pick when you have Trey Lance and Justin Fields and Mac Jones, all of which were easily more high caliber prospects than Zach Wilson, who was playing football at BYU, is insane. Justin Fields won the Big Ten. He was the perennial number 2 pick. He won the Big Ten. He beat Trevor Lawrence in the college football playoff and somehow slips to 11 in the draft. It makes no sense.
I don't get that one.
These GMs convinced themselves, again, to outsmart the room. Let's go with Zach Wilson, the kid out of BYU, and now they're stuck with him. Whereas the Bears, who they have their own issues going on right now, they can't decide between Andy Dalton and Justin Fields. This kid, Zach Wilson sucks, and Justin Fields is now stuck in a quarterback battle that he should have already won.
That I don't get. I don't know what happened from the time that the college football playoffs was over to the draft that made Justin Fields fall from 2 to 4.
It's like the Baseball Hall of Fame. Like, what possibly changes from their retirement year to year 15 that they're fucking suddenly a Hall of Famer.
Right.
What possibly changed from the last snap of the college football season to draft night that made the Jets think that Zach Wilson was the second best quarterback in this draft?
I don't know what happened, because then Justin Fields was falling to 14. Remember that? They said, "Oh, he's going to fall to 14 for us."
Well, you got to remember the Bears traded up. There's every chance he could have kept falling to us. He could have been the 15th pick.
Right.
And maybe if we take Mac Jones over him, he falls even further. Who knows how far he goes?
Right. I don't understand what happened. You're right. You're 100% right about Justin Fields. I don't understand what happened from the time the season was over to the draft, because everything I saw, mock drafts, everything that I read, like Trevor Lawrence is going 1. That's already set. But it was pretty set that Justin Fields was going to go 2.
Right.
Like you had to trade up for him if you were going to get him. Trey Lance was kind of locked in at 3, or Mac Jones. It was a debate.
And out of the cloud, Zach Wilson.
And then Zach Wilson just came here and was like, he's going to the Jets. From the time the playoffs ended to the draft, it was locked in that Zach Wilson was going to the Jets, which I don't.
That's what blows my mind the most. I don't. Again, not saying they should cut him. I'm not saying his career is over by any means. He's going to continue to play football. Will he continue to play it at a high level? More than likely, he'll have better games. He's not going to flame out. My issue is he was drafted number 2. He's clearly not a number 2 talent, and it shows. The kid was out there. He shit his pants. And to people saying, well, it's a second game, the dude across on the other sideline was playing his second game too, and he looked pretty damn good. And he was the 15th pick.
I totally agree. Here's a question for you. You put Zach Wilson on a different team. You swap him out for, say, I don't know, take your pick. You swap him out and put him on the Bears.
Yeah, I was about to say the Bears. Is he starting on the Bears now?
No, I'm saying I'm not saying does he start. I'm saying can he produce on the Bears?
Yes, he's. Oh well, yeah.
Like, do you think he's as bad?
Yeah. No. He could. But again, it's my issue was where he was drafted. If he was drafted mid first round, no problem with how he looks. If he was drafted late first, early second, again, I have no problem with it. But if you're going to be a top 2 talent, man, you need to do better than 200 yards and 4 picks. That's insane.
I guess my point is, does he do what Sam Darnold did and go? Sam Darnold, first year leaving, his team is 2-0.
It could just be.
I think it's the team.
It is the team, but again, it's because the team picked him so high. I'm gonna say the kid sucks because he's now labeled as a number 2 pick. As a number 2 pick, he sucks. That's it.
Yeah.
As a 15 pick, as a 23 pick, as a 31 pick, does he suck? Probably not, because again, he's not a top elite prospect, but they turned him into that, and this is what we got.
Where did Sam Darnold get drafted? Was he 1? No,
I think he was.
He was because who was the other quarterback in that draft? That was a huge quarterback draft.
He was
Baker was 1. Baker was 1. That was the Rosen.
He was 3rd overall.
So he was 3rd overall. Do you think he played like a third overall pick?
Nope.
Nope. Do you think he's playing like a 3rd overall pick now?
What was his line yesterday?
300 yards, 2 TDs, maybe a pick, 2 or 3 TDs and a pick. I looked at it like 5 minutes ago.
Now I got it right here. He was 26 of 38, 305, 2 touchdowns and a pick. I'd take that. Yeah, that's a 3rd round.
And your team's 2-0.
That's a 3 pick. Yeah, 2-0, 3 pick. Yeah, that should be the stat line. 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, and if you throw a pick, that's fine. That should be the stat line. There's no reason Zach Wilson should be barely scratching 200 yards, which he only got because it was garbage time. That kid scratched for 200 yards through 4 picks and didn't score a touchdown. He kicked 2 field goals.
Yeah. I think he's terrible. He's played terrible. I think you're completely right. I don't think he's the best. If anything, I mean, it's too early. We're 2 games in. How are we going to say who's the best out of the 5?
Right.
But he's definitely on the bottom half.
Yeah, I was going to say that doesn't set him up for any sort of success later on.
He was definitely a top 5 quarterback in the draft. Like if you're looking at those top 5, but right now,
No, I'm not saying he wasn't worthy of being one of the.
He should have been where Mac was.
I'm not saying he wasn't one of the best 5 quarterbacks in the draft. He was, but again, he definitely wasn't the second.
Yeah. So I think we'll have to see where he goes. He's definitely towards the bottom half of the 5, but
He'll
I
bounce.
guess
He'll bounce back, but
yeah.
again, it's just
My only
at
point,
the end of the season, you're not going to be able to erase this. They're going to be able to go
no,
back and say, "Well, week 2, dude, you barely got 200 and you threw 4 picks. That's pretty bad."
yeah,
Whereas
yeah,
if Mac Jones coasts the entire season, I know his touchdown numbers are going to be low. That's just how
yeah.
it's going to be. His yards aren't going to be as eye catching as possible, but his completion rate and his passer rating is going to be fantastic. I'm assuming by the end of the season. So
His
if you
INT level.
so if you
That,
compare the two, it's going to look a lot better on the Mac Jones stat sheet than it is the Zach Wilson stat sheet.
yeah. I think Mac Jones, I think he has a good shot to looking how Trevor Lawrence has looked and the Jags have looked. And I think this will even out a little bit because Trevor Lawrence, he's a gunslinger. He's going to throw it. He's going to he's going to throw 3 picks.
He's a number 1 pick, dude. He's going out and getting it. He's trying to win the ball game. He's throwing darts. He's trying to win the game.
But I think Mac Jones will, like when we talked about Rookie of the Year, looking at the first 2 weeks, like Mac Jones may have a chance to edge him because he's going to have a record and he's going to have low pick rates. He's going to have QBR.
If he continues it, and I feel like he's trending upwards. If he continues a good upward trajectory, there's a very good chance he could do that. I guess because if you want to get into it, he played a pretty solid game, no mistakes, kept it easy. From what I saw yesterday and taking what we saw from week 1, I'm almost seeing a pitcher and like a prospect pitcher in baseball approach where they're easing him in. I don't think he has the full playbook yet. I don't think he has the keys to the car yet. They're kind of easing him in. And I'm thinking by maybe week 4, when you get the Bucks, week 4, 5, 6, he's going to start getting the full playbook. I really want to see where they kind of let him loose.
Yeah, I think you started to see stretches. I'd like to see them, like I said, be a little more aggressive with him and throwing the ball. And he even said it, like he said, I need to start looking a little more downfield, a little more. I mean, you went out and got Nelson Aguilar, who's a downfield threat, and you don't even use him. I want to see them kind of use the tight ends more, and try to put a 2 tight end set in there. But like you said, there's a heck of a game. Like, it doesn't wow you. Like, you look at his stat line, 186 yards, 22 for 30, no TDs and no picks. But he was smart with the ball.
Right.
He didn't chance it.
No lost fumbles, no picks.
He was
quick getting the ball out.
There was that one stupid play that he tried to throw the ball away and it didn't get back to the line.
Yeah.
Intentional grounding.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm fine with him making. It's like
if that's the mistake he's gonna make, I'll take that all day, every day.
I'll take an intentional grounding.
Yeah, I'd rather. I was about to say the same thing. I'll take an intentional grounding over 4 interceptions. Yeah. But I thought he did a pretty good job getting the ball out. The offensive line was shaky, especially with Trent Brown out, so the pressure was getting to him, and there was a lot of checkdowns, a lot of dumps. But there's not.
But
really
I'm
much,
fine with that.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's not much you can do in that situation. So, I mean, if the Jets are gonna rush 3, 4, 5 guys, and there's a hole in the right side of the offensive line, he doesn't have time to look downfield. He needs to hit his check down, get a positive play. So I thought he did okay.
Yeah, I'm fine with him dumping off. I like using James White, especially for this kid, because you need to get some short checkdowns to James White. That's why I was talking about the tight ends. 2 receptions from Hunter Henry. He had 4 for Juwan Smith for 28 yards. I kind of want to see those up. I want to see him looking Hunter Henry and looking him see Juwan Smith a little more. I mean, Jacoby Myers, it's great underneath. Kendrick Bourne underneath. It was great to see him kind of get involved early. Did have that fumble and kind of looked away from him. And then obviously Nelson Aguilar had 3 catches for 21 yards. I didn't see a problem with his game. I think they played the game that they needed. They got the W. There's definitely some things they need to work on, especially on that offensive line, because they need to figure out what they're going to do without. I didn't realize how much Trent Brown meant to this offensive line.
His replacement, Durant, dude, he might as well not have been on the field. That dude was getting worked.
They need to put Harrison.
I was really glad they mixed him out. I can't remember who his replacement was, but Durant was getting torched every time he was on the field.
I'd love to see them move Ted Karras in there.
Yeah,
and try to get him in there.
There was a possibility they could reshuffle, which I would much rather they do.
Yeah, they moved what was it? Moved Ted Karras over to like left guard, and you know, I'm trying to think of the other guy
I can try to
to move
find
to
it,
right
but
tackle. But
we're
I mean, they got to figure out that the Trent Brown spot. I think Trent's playing right tackle. They got to figure out that spot because I didn't realize going in. I knew he was a big piece, but I didn't realize how big of a piece he was to that offensive line because they've looked like a totally different line since he left. And that's another testament to Mac. He's getting the ball out quick. He's handling pressure well. He's taking hits. And I mean, we got to kind of protect him. I saw him getting worked on by the training staff midway through the game. We got to try to keep him on his feet because he's getting slammed. He's getting hurried. He's getting, we got to try to protect our quarterback a little better.
well, I
That's
mean,
it.
he was tossing blocks and he was pushing the pile, so this kid wasn't afraid to get his hands dirty.
We said it. He's a psycho. He likes to get hit. He likes to win. He's a competitor. He wants to just do nothing but win. And I love it. I love that. I also love that Devin McCourty got an INT. JC Jackson, who we talked about, can he carry this defensive backfield,
That was a
defensive
great
backs
tip
group?
drill INT. I loved that. That was a good team
Yeah.
INT.
And Adrian Phillips got in the action too with a pick. You know, it's hard to tell because, like we said, the Jets are terrible. Zach Wilson had a terrible day. Take this 4 picks. We'll take it. It looks great.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what we can do against Jameis, who loves to throw picks
That's what I'm
too.
saying. That's what I'm
Like we
saying.
need,
Because
you know,
Jameis was old Jameis yesterday. He did
yeah,
not look.
it was bad.
He was not MVP Jameis of Week 1. He was back to old Jameis. So if Jameis Winston wants to walk in here and start tossing INTs, we're more than willing to take them because we're hungry now.
That's the one thing everyone joked. I mean, man, that LASIK eye surgery must have worked because he was throwing darts.
It wore off after 1 week.
He looked bad, and that's what I was saying about this Saints team. It's gonna be a wild card team every week they play because Jameis is gonna throw 500 yards one day and throw 5 touchdowns, and then the next week he's gonna throw 79 yards and 5 picks. It's like there's no in between. There's no happy medium.
Yeah.
And
So you got to hope that the Patriots are prepared for either gunslinger Jameis or dog shit Jameis.
well, I think a big part of that is taking Alvin Kamara out of the game.
Mm-hmm.
They got to.
And that's Bill's MO is he always wants to take out their best player. That's what they did yesterday to Corey Davis. They took out Corey Davis. They said beat us with someone else, and they couldn't do it. So I'm assuming week 3 it's gonna be take Alvin Kamara out of the game plan, beat us with someone else, and it'll remain to be seen if Jameis could do it.
Yeah, they'll put the pressure on Jameis to be the one to win them the game, and we'll see if our secondary can make plays like they did week 2. I'd say that sadly because I have Alvin Kamara in a bunch of fantasy leagues. I'm not liking this, but I think that's what they got to do. And if Jameis plays like he did in this week, I think the Pats it's gonna look a lot similar. The stat lines are gonna look a lot similar to this one. The running game was also a little better too. I liked how they got James White a little more involved in the running game too.
I was gonna say
Not just the passing.
JJ Taylor was a good spark too.
Yeah, he add a little something, and I'd like to see them do that a little more. As much as I love them having a like trying to go the bell cow approach with Damian Harris, I don't mind them mixing James White in there to give Damian a little bit of a spell and get him some carries. I liked having James White get carries.
Yeah. Well, you can tell at certain points where Damian Harris is gassed because he'll helmet tap out of the game.
Yeah.
So I don't hate keeping him fresh. Kind of throw your pass catching back in there and give Mac another target.
So I think that's going to be the keys for next week. Looking in, and we're gonna either come in this room happy next Monday or we're gonna be a little upset. But I think it's all going to come down to that defense taking Jameis out of the game because I'm not too nervous about that Saints defense. I think they can find ways to dink and dunk and try to win this game, especially playing at home. It's all going to depend on the guy behind center, Jameis Winston. Is he going to throw 5 picks or is he going to throw 5 TDs?
I know
he
which
may
one
do both.
I was gonna say I know which one I want. So
We'll have to see. But good week 2 win. We needed it. was ugly in some points, but we needed the win and we came through with it, which was awesome. So let's move on to our next segment of the night. Let's do our picks of the week.
Picks of the week.
So for picks of the week, we picked one game from next week's NFL schedule. Right now, Dave Football got back in the win column. He's got 1-1. I am undefeated still, 2-0.
That's all right. Only a game back.
Game back.
Only a game back. It's early. It's early.
It's early. Week
Plenty
2.
of football left.
We couldn't be any earlier unless we were in week 1. So Dave Football, what are you getting us for picks of the week?
Picks of the week. I am gonna go with old Tommy boy. I'm going Bucks over Rams. 2-2-0 teams, like you said during the pre-show. Brady's first time in LA. I still can't believe that, but it makes sense geographically. Brady's coming off a 5-touchdown performance. Everything's moving good for him. Gronk looks great. AB looks great. He got Mike Evans involved last night. So I think the Bucks are going to go in there. I think the Bucks are going to roll. I don't think the Rams are as good as their record says, and I think Tom Brady's going to light that place up.
If Matt Stafford has an unbelievable game against the Bucks and gets the win, will you join me in a potential MVP candidate?
Yes. If Matt Stafford puts up an ungodly stat line and beats the Bucks, I'll be on the train.
I love it. I was gonna go Rams over Bucks, but to keep it out of the family, I think we'll go with
keep it out of the family.
Let's go with a different game. I was gonna go Patriots over Saints, but let's keep it, be a little different. I'm gonna go with and this is kind of a cold selection here because I haven't seen them play yet today. Let me check. I'm gonna go with the 49ers over the Green Bay Packers.
All right. Oh, without sight unseen on the Packers. I like it.
I'm going with last sightings from week 1. Packers didn't look good. Obviously, they're going to even that out. I don't think that the Green Bay Packers are going to be awful this season. But 49ers, man, they look pretty good. They're 2-0, right? Yeah, 49ers 2-0.
Yeah.
Going to try to look to continue their reign. They're at home, have a great defense. Nick Bosa looks excellent this season. So I think this is the 49ers, Jimmy G is trying to play for a lot. He's trying to squeeze out that little bit extra out of his career and try to play into a he feels the rookie breathing down his neck.
He knows he's coming.
The golden son, we thought he would be the next
winning
Tom Brady.
Winning cures all. So if he can just keep it up, maybe he doesn't have to worry about it.
Yeah, so I think 49ers are legit. I think they've proven that, they've take that what you will. They beat the Lions week 1 and they beat the Eagles week 2. So I guess, the wins that they had, take that what you will. But, I think that the team has looked pretty good. Their defense is pretty good. Held the Eagles to 11. Held the Lions they let go, but the offense carried out. I'm trusting Jimmy G here. Jimmy G, give me the win. And Eli Mitchell, thank you for not helping me at all in this week's fantasy playoffs. Shout out Deebo Samuel for winning me another league. They got to figure out what happened to George Kittle, man. George Kittle isn't being used at all.
Man, I'm just glad he's not on my team.
Does TJ Hawkinson, if he has a big game today, does TJ Hawkinson take over the third best tight end spot? Because it's pretty clear Travis Kelce's number 1 and then Darren Waller's 2. I think that's pretty clear.
I'm not ready to crown him yet, but he's definitely on his way.
Darren Waller?
No.
Hawkinson. Does Gronk enter? We're entering fantasy football.
I think you need to think about Gronk. He's through 2 weeks. He looks pretty solid. I think Gronk needs to start getting a little respect.
Yeah, I started him in some of my leagues, had him on the bench in others, and I think I'm ready to start him and forget him right now because he's just touchdown. He's a touchdown machine. He doesn't get a lot of catches, but he's getting touchdown.
He's the biggest red zone target he could have.
And Tom Brady, Gronk's kind of worked his way back into football shape, I think, a little bit. He had that year to kind of work his way back, and now it's scary. I think Gronk has worked himself back into the top 5. I think he has to, right? You have to say he's a top 5 tight end right now in the league. and obviously he's the best all time, but he's worked his way back into top 5 fantasy, at least fantasy tight ends in the league.
I'd say so. Yeah, he's getting there.
Trying to think because I think George Kittle has to still be there.
Mark Andrews, maybe.
Mark Andrews is towards the end there, and Hawkinson. So I go those 4 and Gronk. Right? You have to. I think that's
Kelsey.
Kelsey 1, Waller 2. Then the 3 right now, 3, 4, 5 is kind of a toss. Depending on what TJ Hawkinson does today, I mean, you could make an argument. I think Mark Andrews is kind of at 5, but Gronk at 4. Kittle has to be in there too. Kittle has to still kind of be in that conversation. But he's just been, they haven't really used him. They didn't use him much week 2. And week 1 it was like, it was okay, but wasn't anything like it was in the last couple of years. May try to trade with Noah. Try to get him in when the iron's hot, Danny Football. Let's go to waiver pickup of the week. I'm going with Rondell Moore. Now, he does have a kind of a high roster percentage on ESPN. His roster is 19.3%, but I think that is extremely low for the player that you're getting. I think it's obvious that he's one of the top targets on that Arizona team. Last week he had 7 receptions, 114 yards, and a TD. And the week before, I looked it up before. I didn't write it down. I should have. He had four receptions, 68 yards. So they're using him. He was targeted 5 and 8 in the last 2 weeks. I think he's just going to keep getting more and more targets. I think this is a kid that you got to, start thinking about putting on your bench, because I think he could rise through the ranks and be a top target on this Cardinals team. Because I think one is obviously DeAndre Hopkins, but after that, I think it's Rondell Moore can give Christian Kirk run for his money for that number 2 target.
No, that's a good one. I was gonna go with him until I saw you had him. I'm gonna go with Braxton Berrios that we mentioned him earlier. Braxton Berrios, rostered in 0.1% of leagues. Coming off of 14, he had 7 receptions or 73 yards. Will this change if Crowder comes back? Maybe. Will this change if Corey Davis isn't getting smothered? Maybe. But from what I saw yesterday, Zach Wilson kind of turned him into the de facto target. If that continues, Braxton Berrios is an easy 10, 11-point guy. So if you need to plug someone in at flex, if someone gets hurt, or if someone's underperforming, A.J. Brown, pick up Braxton Berrios, plug him in. Zach Wilson seems to like him, so we'll see what happens with the Jets going forward.
Seem to go A.J. Brown out of experience there, did
He's hurting me there. He's hurting me. I don't like it.
Quick recap of fantasy football this week. I think, I came back strong with a nice 1-1 to make my record 1-1 against the champ, Andrew May. We take that win very, very happily. I think we're going to see a lot of splits here, Danny Football. I think I make myself 1-1, makes Andrew 1-1. A shocking upset from James over the great Jared Haben to make them both 1-1.
I'm going to be 0-2.
Jack Moran gets a win to make him 1-1 and make Aaron Golub 1-1. Rob Marcello, who is kicking my butt in the RBS League, Travis Kelce fan of all fans, is projected to beat the David Griffin, which would make Dave 1-1 and Rob 2-0. And then our man Danny Football is projected to lose to Andy, to make Andy 1-1 and Zach 0-2. So still early.
Not how we want to start though.
Not the way we want to start. I'm starting 0-2 in another league, man. I'm not happy about it. But like we said, most teams are 1-1. What are you, a game behind? That's nothing.
Easy. I can make that up in a week.
Yeah. So RBS League, Big Red Zone League is fast.
Parity across the board.
It was very close. Looking at the rosters, there's no roster that's extremely better than the other. And I think it's going to be a close race all the way through the playoffs. Let's shift gears into baseball here, shall we?
Mm-hmm.
Let's get into the Red Sox. We came on the show last week and we said the Red Sox need to come out and take care of business this week. They need to win. They need to sweep the O's, and they need to take care of business and put the hammer down on the Mariners. Well, they did that. They dropped a game to the Mariners, which I'm okay with. That was, I think, when we were recording last week. I don't know if we talked about that one yet. But they came in and won the series against the Mariners, got 2 wins in a row, and then they swept the O's, which is what they had to do to take care of business. Now they have the top wild card spot. They're a game up on the Blue Jays. And you're going into a huge week, the biggest week of the season, where you're playing the Mets, which, two game, you got to take care of business. And then the Yankees. It's like we talked about with the Mariners. Put the nail in the coffin and kind of knock the Yankees out of contention or make it harder for them by winning 2 or 3 of the games. So I think this is a huge week. If you come in and you lose, lose the next 3 games, go 2-3. Now we're back next week talking about, oh man, now we got to really win. We kind of got to win out to try to make a run at this wild card spot. So am I happy at this week? Yeah, they took care of business. They did exactly what they had to do. We're getting our guys back. We're getting healthy, but we need to not be happy with it. We need to continue this going into this week because the Yankees are our next. That's the what we should keep our eye on the prize with.
Yeah, so the Yankees are definitely slumping. Garrett Cole looked like shit yesterday. 10 hits, 7 earned runs, huge game. He even looked at the scoreboard at one point and realized that he was fucking up. The time to put them to bed is now. You have the 2 games against the Mets. Those are winnable games. You take those 2 games. Whatever happens with the Yankees outside of those 2 games happens with the Yankees outside of those 2 games. Regardless, if the Yankees lose their next 2 and we win the next 2, they're still within striking distance. With that 3-game series, and we have it in the notes, you need to take 2 of 3. You got to win the series at least. A sweep ices it, but 2 out of 3 puts you in a pretty good spot. It's balls on the table. You did what you needed to do. You won the games you needed to win against the Orioles. We still have 3 coming up against the Orioles, so we have 3 more games that we can possibly take. But if you want to make things easier for yourself, take this series against the Yankees, knock them out, and then by the time we're talking next week, we're breaking down a potential wild card game against the Toronto Blue Jays. But season's far from over. We still got games left, but that Yankee series is really going to be the pinnacle of, are we going to set ourselves up for success, or are we going to start scraping and clawing to see what we can get?
Huge 2 weeks coming out. We have two major weeks going forward. We'll talk about the Orioles, next week. We talked about it last week, how we had to win. I said 5 out of 6 of those Orioles games. We got 3. We got the 1 sweep that we had. Now you just got to win the series against the Orioles. The Yankees are big. They're not that good. They won all those games in a row.
That's what I'm saying. Now is the time. You need to cash in now. If they're going to start slumping, you need to do it now.
They're coming back down to earth. You need to put the nail in the coffin and knock them out. It's, they'll have a chance at the second wild card, sure. But if you take 3 out of 3. You can control
what I'm saying, and I think what we're both getting at is,
yeah,
if the Red Sox are going to hold this top wild card spot, control your own destiny. There's no reason we need to drop that top wild card spot when we are the ones who need to be hosting it. You don't want to play that wild card game in Toronto. You don't want to play that wild card game at Yankee Stadium. You need that in your own backyard. You need the Fenway faithful. You need to hold on to the top spot. So, like I said, we control our own destiny, so it's up to us.
And I'm not saying this is going to happen, right? I'm thinking the wild card is what you're looking at. But I'm an optimistic guy, Danny Football, right?
I think I know where you're going with this.
We're 6.5 out of first.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at the Tampa schedule, they played the Blue Jays.
Yep, 3 against the Blue Jays.
Marlins.
3 games against the Marlins.
The 3 games against the Astros. And then 3 against the Yankees.
Yep.
Looking at the schedule, who has a tougher schedule, us or Tampa Bay?
1,000% Tampa Bay.
I think that
I did look through this. I know where you're getting at. I've seen people say this. If they don't clinch in that Marlins series, man, watch out.
Watch out. Because that Astros game, they're slumping. Even the Rays are slumping. Look at their last 10. They're 4-6 in their last 10 games.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're looking more quick, like I'm just taking a glance at it, they just lost the series against the Tigers. They've lost their last two. No, they tied with they played a 4-game with the Tigers, but they lost their last two against the Tigers. The Blue Jays beat them in the last series pretty bad. They Blue Jays won 8-1 game 1. Rays won 2-0 the second game, and they lost 6-3 game 3. So they're coming into the Blue Jays, who they just lost the series against the Blue Jays. Marlins is they stink, but they got
If the Marlins can steal one, man, that changes everything.
And that's what I'm saying, dude. And the Red Sox are going to come out and play the Orioles for 3. They have the Mets for 2. They got the
Nationals for 3.
And the Yankees, they got to take care of business. They have a chance to forget about the wild card game and just play a full-out series, 5 best of 5.
That would be a historic collapse if we can steal this from the Rays.
I think I'm not saying it's probable, but looking at
there's a chance. There's definitely a chance.
The Sox are getting
We're not mathematically knocked out of the division. We'll just say that. We're not mathematically knocked out.
But like we said, if this is going to happen, forget about just I'm looking at the division and I'm looking at the wild card. They need to take care of business this week. You need to win at least, you need to at least split with the Mets, which you should win both. And then you have to win 2 out of 3 against the Yankees, at least. Sweep's better. A sweep is better in both series. But I'm saying if you sweep both series, you're looking kind of good. I bet you're now, if you sweep both series.
I wouldn't hate going into next week on a 10-game winning streak. Would not hate that.
And you're looking at possibly back in the division 3.5 games. And you're going against the Orioles. You're loading up against the Orioles and the Nationals, and they're loading up against the Astros and the Yankees. And I think, looking at it, are they away for those games? Yep, they're away for the Astros and Yankees series.
I mean, they don't really have much of a home field advantage either, but that's
right. I know, but I mean, playing
yeah, no, I get what you mean. I'm just taking a shot at Tropicana because that place is a fucking dump.
But I mean, like we said, being more realistic, keeping our eye on the top wild card spot. That's our goal.
No, I mean, and hey, man, I'm agreeing with you. We have if we're gonna hold the number 1 wild card spot, great. But if there's bigger fish that we can catch, we might as well go after it.
I just see it, and then
we're not gonna lose the top wild card spot if we all of a sudden make a run at the division.
And dude, looking at it, really, if you're looking at it, depending on how Houston does going down the stretch, we're 2 games back on Houston. We could end up having the number 1 seed in the East, depending on how the end of it goes.
That would be huge. Imagine after all the bullshit we went through with the up and down July and August, if we somehow come out of this looking good.
And at the very least, I mean, like I said, this is a pipe. We had a lot of games to go. But even if, say, you do take Tampa over for the division, I think you have a good shot of being the home seed for that first game, for that first series. Because, I mean, Chicago has a worse record than you. About the same, just a game up. They have the same winning percentage, but you have a game up. They're 85-64. You're 86-65. So, I mean, it depends on how they do the tie break, but you could have a home field advantage for that. So you need to take care of business against the Yankees. That's the biggest series of the season. You need to win that. You need to win 2 out of 3, preferably 3 out of 3. And then that controls your like you said, they control their own destiny going into this final week of the season. And then, we'll sit back next week and talk about, where they sit in the standings, and looking at that Orioles game. That's a pretty good, they set themselves up for pretty success, and the Nationals. Also we had breaking news from Worcester today. Tristan Cassis gets called up.
We're loading up the Woo Sox with 2 weeks to go. I gotta love it. I do like it. They give the kid a look at AAA. Only has to be up here for 2 weeks. Get a quick look. He could always start next year back down in AA, or he can start next year in AAA. So I like it. Give the kid a look, see what he has at AAA for the last 2 weeks, and see where he goes. But he's been destroying up at Portland, so I'm excited to see it.
Do they have playoffs for Worcester?
No, they're doing like a weird, like the last 2 weeks, the best winning percentage technically wins. They're not doing like a traditional playoff this year, but they put extra games on the schedule, so I'm not going to complain.
Very cool. Well, I like it too. Bobby D has really stepped up the last month.
Oh yeah, yeah.
He's playing out of his mind. But if you're gonna look for another first baseman, maybe you start him at AAA next year, and if Bobby starts to slip, you call him up and have him play first.
Could do that.
But I mean, Bobby Dahlback's looked unbelievable.
That's what I'm saying. That dude, that's a guy that knew his job was in trouble and started turning it on.
Bobby D, this is a Bobby D Stan podcast. We love Bobby D. We followed him since the beginning. So, looking at this, who do you think is going to be the second? If you had to guess going in, I mean, there's a lot of baseball to be played. What do you think if the chips fall where they may? Where do you think the Red Sox are going to land realistically going into the playoffs? And who do you think they're going to be playing in the first round?
Realistically, I think it's going to be a first wild card in its wild card game against the Blue Jays. If I'm looking at it realistically, I'm saying the Rays. Maybe they don't ice it right away, but they're going to probably win the division by a couple games. Red Sox will secure the first wild card game at home. Blue Jays probably are going to be the second wild card because we're likely to knock the Yankees out of contention. So,
yeah, I think it depends. I mean, the Blue Jays are looking at it. Tampa's kind of looking at Toronto. Like Toronto needs to beat Toronto needs to beat the Rays to have a shot. Because if we go in and we beat, say, the Yankees 2 out of 3, but Tampa beats them 2 out of 3, they're right in the same spot. They're a game and a half back.
Well, they have that head-to-head at the end of the. No, yeah, that's the Rays and the Yankees. Whoops, never mind. I thought it was Blue Jays, right? Yankees.
I guess what I'm saying is, I think they're a game and a half out, and look, anything can happen. I mean, the Yankees have a tough schedule down the. They have to play the Tampa. Blue Jays, who do they get down the stretch? They get the Twins. They get an easy series against the Twins. They got 4 games against the Twins. Jeepers. Then they got 3 games against the Yankees, I think that may decide it. That could be a deciding factor in the second wild card. That's a mini playoff series. And then Toronto's got the Orioles. So, man, geez. Red Sox need to win, dude. They need to win down the stretch. Forget about the Yankees. I'm looking at like the Yankees having a shot against the Blue Jays. Toronto has arguably an easier schedule going down the stretch. They got the Twins and the O's, and then they get to play the Yankees too. So
that's why we got to win, man. Hang on to that home playoff game.
Who do you think? Well, let's start with this. Do you think this team could be successful in the playoff push if they make the playoffs?
I think I'm not going to say when we win the wild card game, we're very dangerous. Very dangerous.
I think so too. I think if we get the number 1 wild card spot, I think it gives us a good chance to win that game. And after that, you're going to be playing probably Tampa in the first round.
We've seen them plenty of times. We know how to play them.
And I feel pretty good going into Tampa. They're going to be beat up going down the stretch because they still got to win games to try to secure out of that wild card spot, because Tampa does not want to play that wild card game. I'm telling you that right now. So I think you're right. I think they could be a very dangerous team. And who do you think goes? We had this debate before. Who goes game 1 for the Sox? For the wild card.
It's definitely been between Eovaldi and Sale. Eovaldi obviously has had the whole season, but you alluded to your answer when we were talking about it. But I would go Chris Sale just because he's the most bona fide guy we have. He's an ace. Whether he's been here the whole year, regardless, he's the best pure pitcher you have. So if it's game on the line, I got to go with one of my guys. I'm going with Chris Sale.
I get the argument about Eovaldi. Eovaldi's been here all year. He's been doing it all year. He's looked pretty good for the most part all season. And he's kind of been that guy that when the non-Chris Sale months that you kind of leaned on going into week in and week out. But if I'm in a 1-game playoff, you didn't get according to Bloom or according to everyone, you didn't go out and get another starter because you had Chris Sale coming back. You trust in this guy. You believe in this guy as you should because he's a bona fide stud and he's your ace. He's your guy that you're going to lean on, live or die by. If Chris Sale comes in and gives up 5 runs in the first inning, all right, I have no problems with that call, putting Chris Sale in the beginning. Did he pitch well? No. But I'd rather live and die by Chris Sale going into a 1-game playoff. And, I think you give Chris Sale game 1, you go Evaldi. If you hopefully win, you go Evaldi game 1 in the next series, and you could probably have Chris Sale back by game 3, and you try to see what you can do. So I think you're right. I think it's Chris Sale all the way. Any closing thoughts on the Red Sox? You're going to go see the Woo Sox this weekend.
Got a couple Woo Sox games, seeing if they get in because of the rain. But regardless, it's been a great season. The ballpark's been beautiful. They've been adding to it throughout the season. The team was great. It was great to see Duran get his shot. Caleb Bort got his shot. All those guys got a couple looks at the Red Sox because of the whole COVID fiasco. Jack Lopez got up there. Aruz has been up there all year. They had a couple guys. Espinal got a couple shots. So it's always good to see the farm guys get their chance in the show. Great product on the field, great times in the stands. It's been a great inaugural season. Can't wait to go back for season 2.
You've been a lovely insider for the Woo Sox this season. I think it's time we move on to our final segment of the night, the People's Topic.
It's the People's Topic, baby! People's Topic.
All right, so for People's Topic, you write in our Instagram and Twitter page at Big Red Zone. Leave us a comment, whatever you got. If you want us to question, topic, whatever you got. This week, we're going with our main man. I wouldn't want it any other way. Joseph_Celia. And he writes, do you think Bill and McDaniels are holding Mac back on purpose? By having their game plans by checkdowns and run-first offense, personally, I think they're doing this to let him get a feel of the game, and by year 2 or 3, he'll be more of a polished quarterback who throws more down the field. Give him a like.
I mean, it's a good question. I kind of alluded to it with, a pitching prospect that you kind of ease into it. I wouldn't be shocked. I mean, give him the first couple weeks, learn the basics of the playbook, learn the basic checkdowns, learn the basic kind of cadences. And then, like I said, whether it's game 4 against the Bucks because it's Brady, it's in your house, it's Sunday Night Football, you want to put on a show, maybe that's when you empty the playbook. Or even if it's later down the line, you kind of see what your record is. And if you think you have a shot at it, you kind of give them the whole playbook, let them see what we can do. They tried a flea flicker yesterday, so they kind of gave him a little bit of a wrinkle.
That was sick.
I know. So do I think they're holding back? Yes. Do I think they're holding back a ton? Probably not. I don't know how crazy they're really going to get with him, but there's definitely parts of the playbook they haven't even dived into yet. So I think with time it'll get more expansive, and we'll see a little bit of a different look.
Yeah, if they're holding him back, I don't think it's like to a huge degree. I think that they're, I think like you said, we're easing them in. They're giving them, adding maybe a little bit to the playbook each week. And I think Bill has proven that he's going to, go with the game plan week to week. He's going to do with whatever will beat that next team on the schedule. And it's, it's a lot of what we talked about. It's a lot of old Tom Brady plays, like play style. And Tom Brady was when we had him, it was all checkdowns. There was a lot of checkdowns, dink and dunk offense. I think as the season goes on and as the years go on, I think you're right. I think we are going to see more downfield pressure. I hope we do. But I think you're right. I think it may be a little bit holding him back, not holding him back, but more of easing him into.
Yeah, I don't think it's so much that, hey, we don't think you can do this. It's more of we want you to be in a place where you can do this.
Right. So great question, Joseph Celia.
Beautiful question.
And I like I like how he added his own input there. I appreciate it. You can write in our Instagram and Twitter at Big Red Zone. Give us a follow. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, wherever you get your podcast. Leave us a review on Apple Podcast. Leave us a comment on the YouTube page. Hit the like button on this video as well as all our other videos. My thanks to Danny Football again for joining us.
Real quick, I want to.
Oh my goodness.
We don't talk about them a lot just because we're not. I don't think we have a lot of soccer fans. The New England Revolution, man. I don't know if you know, best team in the league by far. They're hot, and they're the odds-on favorite to win the championship. So I'm going to shout out the New England Revolution right now. They deserve it. They've been having a hell of a
Football
season.
with a buzzer beater comment in there. You know what's
Hell of a
funny?
season.
Someone mentioned that. Someone actually went to the game the other day.
They're hot, dude. They're hot. They're by far the best team in the league. It's looking good for them.
Could the Crafts be landing? And that's another good people's topic from Danny Football. Could the Crafts be raising another championship trophy in the next month or two?
I don't know if you know this, dude, but the Revs are kind of the Buffalo Bills of MLS. They've been to MLS Cup 4 times and they've whiffed all 4 times. So they're due. They're due.
Should we go to a Revs game? I feel like
I'd fucking love to, dude. I'd love to.
We need to look into that because I can't imagine it's that.
No, that's probably the cheapest ticket you'll find, but I'd go in a heartbeat.
We need to look this in. We need to look this up. We need to get in there before they start winning championships and
hey man, that's what it was with the Patriots and everything else. You got to get in before they get good.
Let's get so you're saying we need to get Revs season tickets just to
that's what I'm saying.
Pay $20 for a whole season of Revs.
That's what I'm saying.
Man.
Let's get in on this.
I think we should invest in the team.
Let's become a soccer podcast. Let's do it.
I'm not even saying podcast. I think we need to become part owner of the buy a percentage.
I don't want to say I'd do a better job than Robert Kraft, but I think I could do a better job than Robert Kraft running a fucking soccer team. So we'll see where we go from there.
You are a soccer buff champion. Wow, that was a great nugget. That was a Danny
got
Football.
Got some airtime for him.
That was a Danny Football people's topic in there.
There we go.
We need to get we should talk about, you know what? We're gonna give a segment next week to the New England Revolution. We gotta add that in.
This is where they start skidding. Watch this.
Yeah, we give them a little exposure and all of a sudden they start skidding.
Falling apart.
Here comes the Bills 5-Pete.
Oh my god.
Well, geez, man, I'm totally thrown off by that. I'm a little excited now. I'm gonna go watch him.
He's a little fired up for New England Revolution soccer.
Yeah, I know. Usually, I was on my wind down of the podcast. Now I'm all fired up again. Now
he's ready for Revs takes.
Yeah. Wow. Well, go watch a Revs game. We're gonna go watch. We're gonna go figure it out. Man, I'm fired up now. You're talking about championship caliber football.
There we go. That's how we close out the podcast. Go Revs, go.
Go Revs, go. My thanks to Danny Football for joining. Have a great week, everyone.